The I-80 Harvest Tour is brought to you by the Enlist Weed Control System. More weed control, less drift and volatility, maximum yield potential.
Combines are slowly starting to roll in the heart of the Midwest, and once again this year we're tracking harvest progress throughout the Corn Belt. Now, over the next 7 weeks, we'll travel from Ohio to Nebraska to see the results of the 2017 crop. And this morning, we start in Indiana, where farmers had a tough growing season. At one point this summer, USDA said Indiana had the worst corn rating in the country. Betsy Jibben kicks off our first I-80 harvest report of the season in the Hoosier state and takes a look at how the crop looks today.
A wet start to the growing season brought a year of struggles to many Indiana farmers.
Farmers say crops were planted late, some even replanted. You can see it in the fields.
The replant claims this year are the highest that I've ever seen.
That's the most I've ever replanted, yeah. And it was just low ground area, it wasn't whole fields.
This is the second time we've had a replant claim, and it was for 60% of the corn that we planted. And then about 20% of our early planted beans.
Signs of planting problems still showing up in those replanted fields.
We need some heat for that to get done.
That's why Grabill, Indiana farmer Jim Smith welcomes the heat in the Corn Belt and needs it to stay.
It does have potential. We need days like today, and we'll get there. It might be Thanksgiving, but we'll get there.
USDA's latest crop progress report for Indiana says 53% of both corn and soybeans are rated good to excellent. Smith says that number is reflective of corn in his area.
Our corn's going to be below APH, no question about it.
It's the bean crop that's surpassing Smith's expectations and hopefully his average APH. He received rain others did not.
Beans are going to have to carry the load for us this year. It doesn't look like the corn will.
Beans helping to push the farm financials towards the black.
We're probably 50% sold, and we got aggressive on that this spring because we knew that we were going to have a lot of beans sold. So when the markets gave us some $10 beans, we took it.
Brad Meister is in a different location of Bourbon, Indiana, but the concerns, especially with marketing plans, are the same.
They're pretty much at break-evens right now, if not below cost of production. You know, you can't keep doing that year after year after year. You take this times 35,000 population, and that's good corn.
Even though Meister did not replant this field, he's surprised with how majority of his corn crop turned out.
Growing season we had this spring, we had some reduction in the stand counts in corn. So that's going to take off a little bit of the top end yield, but for the most part it's still going to be a very good crop.
His earlier planted beans will be ready to harvest next week.
We were a little dry in August, which is going to take off probably the top end yield, mostly for beans than for corn. But for the most part, our growing condition has been pretty favorable.
The rest still needs to dry down.
Couple 2s, but mostly 3s. There's a 4. They're pretty good size, but it's kind of hard to tell when they're so wet too.
A stressful start.
We'll make the best of the situation we have at hand, and then we'll all look forward to doing it again next year.
As these Hoosiers hope for a strong finish from the cab of the combine. Reporting for Ag Day, I'm Betsy Jibben.
All right, thanks, Betsy. Tracking the 5 states of the I-80 Harvest Tour, here are the statewide progress reports. Illinois corn harvest is 13 points behind, but soy harvest is running ahead by 2 points. Indiana, 4 points behind in corn, but a point ahead in beans. And Iowa, 7 points behind in corn and 3 in soy. Nebraska farmers, 6 points behind in corn, picking, but right now on pace with soybean harvest. In Ohio, 3 points in both corn and soybean harvest.